Happy Guam and Happy voters and Action PAC members. Welcome to another episode of the We Want to Know Action PAC Show. I'm your host, as always, Phil Leddy. I'm the executive director, but it's not about me. It's about our special guest candidate today, and his name is Senator Jesse Lujan. Buenas, Senator.
Hey, good morning, Phil. How you doing?
Doing great, sir. And I always appreciate you taking your time to speak to us and our audience. And before we jump into the interview, I'd like to give you a chance for some welcoming remarks.
Well, again, thank you very much. This is my second time coming before the Action PAC Committee. I want to give each and every one of your membership a great thank you for giving us the opportunity to get the message out there. I mean, a lot of different platforms, and hope all the other candidates take advantage of whatever platforms out there. I mean, this is the time and age of getting your message out there, and it's very important in these tough economic times that we're dealing with in our island, and folks want to know that, and not all folks have access to every platform. So, this is one of many platforms that we have an opportunity to get a message out there. So I want to give you guys a great thank you. Thank you very much for that, to do the sponsor for, again, having us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking part, and you're absolutely right. It's always great for the candidates who are seeking public office to take advantage of each platform, because there are certain people that are keen or are only in tune to certain avenues, platforms, whether it be print, radio, traditional radio, or now via social media and direct mailer pushes. So it's great to see more and more candidates grab a hold of that opportunity.
Absolutely, and I totally believe in it. And someone who's been in the media for actually 10 consecutive years, but even before that, I was in the media, so I definitely believe in getting the message out there, to the majority of the people, and most especially now to the folks that are going to know their candidates, and how they stand on every position. And it may be uncomfortable at times to answer questions that you're not totally comfortable with in a certain position, but it's important for them to know.
Absolutely, and I firmly believe it comes with the territory, right? Comes with the territory.
Absolutely.
And I want to echo your statement. Action PAC is formed out of a need to play an active role in government, beginning at the grassroots level. We firmly believe in a well-informed and a knowledgeable voter is the most powerful voice at the polls. We comprise of members of a cross-section of Guam society, representing all walks of life, and united in our belief that we can affect change through action. So we always welcome for you to get to know us better, as we hope to continue doing our part to help you get to know our candidates better. And with that said, we're going to jump right into the interview. Our first question is something we spoke about with when you were a guest on our pre-primary show. Sure. So if you can just touch on it real quick, what are your 3 or more campaign pillars?
Okay, thank you, Phil. Actually, my platform actually is more than 3 pillars, but for the sake of conversation, I would concentrate on the 3 most important issues in my platform. And first and foremost, of course, is building our tourism industry. Urgently rebuilding our tourism industry is crucial and needs our government's full attention and support. Before the pandemic, our tourism industry directly and indirectly accounted for 60% of Guam's economic output. And while we are seeing very, very encouraging signs of an initial recovery, we are a long, long way from where we need to be to ensure that we save as many local businesses and continue to struggle and are doing all that they can to just hold on. Some of them holding on to the skin of their teeth, right? And while some jobs have come back, thousands of our people are still either unemployed or underemployed. And so we need a robust tourism industry recovery to bring back the good jobs that people need and had prior to the pandemic. With this in mind, I think we need to use some of the remaining ARP funds to provide the Guam Visitors Bureau with additional marketing funds to promote, of course, the art source markets, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. I think we need to give the Guam Visitors Bureau more resources and a special supplemental, I call relaunch our tourism industry market budget. This budget needs to be specifically for the marketing of Guam and enticing, of course, our source markets, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, tourists to visit our island, and supporting our local tourism-related businesses. I also believe that the government needs to provide another round of LEAP funding. We've read about that just a couple of days ago in our paper. Folks are asking for that. We have two real challenges to overcome. First, we need to get tourism to return, but we also need to ensure that they have a good time when they get here. The majority of our locally owned and operated, tourism attractions currently cannot afford to stay open and operate a full-time basis, not with the current arrival numbers that we have right now. So they need tourist arrivals to increase dramatically before it makes sense for them to return to their pre-pandemic hours of operation. So again, as I mentioned earlier, another round of the LEAP funding is going to be extremely important for these businesses. The other thing, number two, is fighting inflation. Of course, certainly there are many factors beyond our local control, but there are several important things that the government can do, our government can do to reduce inflation. And I've been strongly advocating for the immediate rollback of our BPT. We should immediately also suspend BPT and GRT for food and medicine. We should start with a 12-month suspension of that to provide both businesses and consumers with the immediate relief that much needed right now. I also have called, of course, on the government to meet immediately with the Chamber of Commerce and to immediately review all current fees and taxes that the government of Guam has in place, and to assess the temporary waive or suspend as many as possible for the next 6 to 12 months. And I will also again be spearheading to trying to obtain the 24-month waiver of our Jones Act through the federal government. This is urgently needed. And last but not the least, I mean, at least three of the pillars is the crime and drug problem on Guam is out of control, and our local government needs to take a much more aggressive measure on to curb such things that are happening on Guam. We need to see that GPD and customs are much more active in fighting the drug problem here on our island. We need to give GPD and customs more resources to make sure that they have real plans, and we need to hold them accountable for actions or inactions that may take place or not. Other than daily arrests of drug users and addicts, it's very hard for anyone to point out that what is happening, or any of the local agencies, is what they're doing to stop the dealers of the importation of drugs into our local ports. We often hear about what the feds are doing and what they have seized and how much they've seized, but we need to also hear and read about our local leadership and what is happening. Guam is not a safe place that it once was, and we need to act with extreme urgency to make it safe again.
Absolutely. I think your three pillars that that for the sake of conversation, you summarized it with three, but they all are interchangeable, because I'm a firm believer that a hurting economy is a sign of a hurting society.
Sure.
And we can't have tourism without a healthy business that supports the tourism experience. And we can't have healthy businesses or healthy tourism if everyone's scared to A, go to work, or B, visit Guam.
Sure. I mean, likewise. I mean, I think it was the week before that where we read about a Korean tourist who got robbed.
Correct.
These are the things, you take 10 steps forward and then 15 steps back from when things like that happen, because we all know that as much as marketing money that we spend on our source markets, the word of mouth of things happening in crime plagued area that you visit would nullify your steps forward.
Yes, we got to be honest. Sure, in Guam, we utilize even just, let's say, on Facebook, for instance, there are local groups. There's a food group, Guam Foodies, quite popular. I think they have 20,000+ members, and all it takes is one bad review, and I mean, it's a wildfire conversation for and against. But we definitely need to eliminate, or at the very minimum limit those type of experiences to spread, because that is definitely going to go against our hospitality and affirmatic way of life.
Sure. I mean, we remember what happened when the when there was that driver that plowed down all these tourists, and a number of them got killed when they were stabbed. We remember again all the media that came out to Guam to cover such story, and what Guam, the Visitors Bureau, and Guam in general had to do to, to fend off all the negativity that will come with all the marketing money and all the efforts that we've done for years succumb to yeah, I mean, get over that situation that happened. It's all it takes is one.
That's right. That's right. And that's why viewers and voters, that's why it's very important for you to understand and know our candidates and their point of views of what reality is today and what we want reality to be tomorrow.
Sure.
So we're going to continue on, sir.
Okay.
And I think that's a great segue to our next question. Again,
Yeah.
give us the same answer that you did in our previous conversation, or possibly since then with your dialogue with different constituents and community members. Maybe there's something else that you might want to highlight. And the question is, what is one main focus item that you believe you can realistically accomplish in one term?
Well, as I said previously, and I said earlier as well, I have more than one main focus. But the one thing is for sure is that I will make the legislative oversight of public safety is improved, and to reduce the crime and make the dent on our drug problem. As mentioned before, you have three different branches of government, the separation of powers. What can the legislature do? The legislature cannot be the one to enforce the laws that they've just written, but it can enforce it in the sense that they write the laws, but they call the folks in that they've written the laws for, and and to undertake the situation and enforce based on oversight. What is going on? I will work, of course, very diligently with GPD and customs and all local agencies involved with, of course, public safety, to make sure that we have the resources and leadership to do the job. Be sure and use, as I said, the legislative oversight powers to hold the agencies and administration accountable, whoever the administration may be. I won't just sit back and complain, and I will demand that we take an active and on-hands approach to fighting crime and attacking our crystal meth problem here on our island. Again, if we don't tackle this, everything else within, I mean, the unfortunate thing is the only thing that is not affected by inflation on our island, the supply chain situation is crystal meth. That's the only thing that's not affected. I mean, there's an abundance of crystal meth, as I hear, and the price is not going up, which means there's a lot, and their price has gone down, and supply chain is not an issue, according to professionals that are seeing what's happening out there. So that's it's the other way around.
Yes, it's definitely a huge problem and a public safety issue,
Sure.
all in one. And it's great that you want to take that more active, proactive approach, because I mean, from my conversations with our general public, a lot of them, unfortunately, they're even hesitant to vote because in their mind,
Sure.
oh man, but it's been very reactive. Nothing's really changing.
Sure.
So we definitely need that approach where we're gonna look at a huge issue that's striking our island right now, which is the crystal meth issue, and attack it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and attack it, with all of our agencies that relate to curbing issues like that. So I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, imagine. I mean, you look at the three different branches of government, the separation of powers, but co-equal branches of government. Imagine if all branches of government did what they're supposed to do, as being co-equal. Hey, that's how government was designed. The three different branches, and they work all together collaboratively to get things done. We can get it done. We can get it done, absolutely. And so, as much as we point out the problems of Guam, there are solutions. There are solutions at hand, and the government it is built in the government. The government has solutions, and again, the government is created to make sure, first and foremost, this job is to keep your community. Absolutely, you got to have a safe community to have a prosperous community.
Definitely. And it's in our mission statement of the Action PAC. We believe in change through action, action being our key word. So we appreciate that. Now we're going to jump into, before we get into our initiatives, we always have our closing question. This is something that we discussed previously. And again, you can have the same answer, or you can maybe elaborate a little bit further. But first and foremost, Action PAC, backed by the largest business organizations on island. So we are no secret pro-business, pro-economy, and pro our government sector doing what they can to work collaboratively and assist us, the business community, especially coming out of a time of economic recovery. So what is one or two ways that you plan that you have in your plans to help the local business community as we continue to go post-pandemic struggle period?
Okay, as I said earlier, our tourism industry recovers is a big priority of mine, a huge priority of mine. I will fight, of course, to increase GVB's in country promotional budget, and I will do all that I can to make sure that another round of the LEAP funding or similar programs is available for our businesses that are crying for that need out there. So make sure it's available. Any similar program that's out there, it may be called something else down the line here, going into the new administration or the 37th Guam legislature. If the administration hasn't acted, of course, by the time the 37th Guam legislature had started its new session, right? I will work to roll back the BPT immediately and reduce as many fees and local taxes as possible. We need to support our local businesses and do all we can to spur a more rapid recovery. And the only way we can do that at this point in our side, like I said earlier, we have solutions on our side to do so. We still have some federal funding to be able to help our businesses. And what can we do to help our business out here? And immediately roll back the BPT and look at what fees and taxes that we can spend for 6 to 12 months. And that's a way to help that. The businesses and the economic environment have been brutal and the pandemic has just devastated our biggest industry. The government needs to do everything it can to help get businesses back on their feet and get our economy thriving again. And I'm ready on day one to help make that happen. And I hope we don't have to wait. I mean, because these are solutions that can happen right now. They can happen right now as we speak.
Correct.
So if it's not done between now and then on day one, I'll be running out right after. If the people want to elect me as one of their senators, I'll be running out as soon as I get sworn in to submit bills and resolutions to do as such.
Excellent. We at the Action PAC, we love to hear it. And I think one of the key words that you said was to rapidly recover our economy.
Sure.
And because, I've heard different trains of thought. They're like, Phil, it's important to continue to collect taxes as much as we can. I understand their perspective. And because they are also saying, and they will continue to assist with LEAP funds, but they're missing the rapid recovery part. I don't think our response should be a drip through the faucet. I believe that we need to turn that faucet on and bring Guam back to a level and a status in economy and tourism, and then just a local robust different businesses, and empower the businesses that, hey, the bright future is tomorrow. It's not next year, 2 years down the line. It's going to be here, and we need leaders to continue to push that. So I appreciate that.
Well, absolutely. And the more businesses that shut down, the more businesses that slow down, so the less taxes that you're going to collect. And if they shut down, the businesses shut down, that's 1 less, 2 less, 3 less. And how many businesses have slowed down between the pandemic and now that you're no longer collecting taxes from. And that is what the government is banking on right now. Says, okay, because we lost this business, we cannot roll back the BPT because we've lost all these businesses. But the higher the taxes that you have in place, the less likely that these businesses that are hurting, that are going to be able to pay even more or better at paying their taxes, because they're going to go out of business. And once a business goes out, even if you roll down back the BPT, they've lost their business. They're not just going to say, "Oh, now they just roll back. I'm gonna reopen my business." That's not the way business works. Once you're out of business, once you file bankruptcy, most people, you're done.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the sad part is they lose that entrepreneurial spirit,
absolutely,
that excitement that they once had. And I firmly believe, contrary to current way of thinking, that the BPT, when you roll it back, we're actually going to increase the tax collection, or at least keep it status quo, because businesses are going to grow, which are going to mean more jobs, more job security for our people, which means our citizens have buying power again.
Sure.
And the money is just going to spread and stay locally, because it's going to be a healthy economy. So I really don't think that we're going to lose out. And I know estimates are I heard in meetings with our partners. I mean, you look at that 1%, you're probably looking at $60 to $70 million. That's from 5 to 4. That's $60 to $7 million that can be pumped and recollected through our economy. That's my train of thought, and I'm sticking to it.
Absolutely, and if you're not just that, but if you're trying to entice new businesses to come to Guam, if they're just not homegrown entrepreneurs, if you're trying to entice businesses outside of Guam to come to Guam, and they look at the business environment, if you're business unfriendly with our taxes and permitting and things of that nature, and that's another story within itself.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
that's another hurdle. So when they look at all this, I mean, so how many folks or how many businesses have come to Guam that we don't know? They're just coming here as to explore what would it be like to start a business here in Guam. I don't know if we have those statistics, of people just coming here representing companies and just looking at our tax base, looking at our permitting base and things of that nature as to, when they go back to their home base and whether or not they're going to want to do business in Guam. And right now, at this point, we are, especially with the post, or well, I can't say post pandemic because we're still under the health emergency. So I can't say post at this point. So we're still in this pandemic. When this pandemic hit, and the tax structure that we have in place and the permitting process that we have in place, it has become extremely business unfriendly. It was unfriendly before then, and it continues, in these tough times to be even more business unfriendly.
Yeah, definitely. It's something
Yes.
that we got to work collaboratively, and that's
Sure.
why we want the dialogue with the private sector, private organizations,
Sure.
with our 37th legislation moving.
Sure.
And yeah,
Sure.
that's why your vote is important, everybody.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
we're gonna jump into our initiatives, and actually,
Okay.
I think we just knocked number one out of the park. The number one was what are you for, are you against, or do you want to elaborate? The rollback of BPT immediately for all businesses, and you did a great job stating your stance, and we at the Action PAC and all of the businesses that we represent, we appreciate that. Now, number two, sir, for, against, or elaborate. Advocate for government efficiency to protect and preserve its resources.
Again, that's an absolute yes. Government should such pattern, especially when it comes to, of course, budgets and expenditures. The voters and the general public are the ultimate stakeholders of the government, and they should only and always be serving the community's best interests. Okay, and all government businesses should be conducted in the full light of day, with none of the decisions it makes being hidden. Absolutely in the light of day. If elected, I would I would certainly make use of my legislative power of oversight, as we talked about earlier, to ensure that the legislature does its part to have the government of Guam act as transparent as possible. And again, one of the duties of the legislature is oversight, and we've had oversights on hospital, we have oversight or discussions on either pro-life or pro-choice, but with inflation, the situation of inflation and crime and crystal meth in Guam, I mean, how many oversights have you heard being called by the legislature in regards to these crucial issues? And it's one of their jobs,
Yeah, definitely. And I love it because I'm starting to see just by this interview how proactive you really are, because you're able to answer the initiative question and already touch on the next one. So either you're Nostradamus or you're excellent at it, which I believe is possibly both. Because our number three initiative, which is agree, disagree, or elaborate, improve the transparency at all levels of the government of Guam, and promote open communication and collaboration between the public and private sectors.
As I said earlier, to that answer, but I think, of course, it's very critical and crucial for me to do all I can to, of course, improve the transparency at all levels of Guam, and I will be a staunch advocate for open communication and collaboration, of course, between the public and private sector. Campaign, I've been suggesting and promoting the ideas that the governor should be sitting down with the Chamber of Commerce and other partners that make up groups like yourself, the Action PAC, to discuss what government might and should suspend as we recover from this pandemic and battle this inflation. I will, and have an ongoing dialogue with the private sector, and will consistently be seeking feedback and guidance from private sector experts and partners. I will, of course, remain and maintain an open door policy, and we'll be collaborating on all ongoing basis. And again, this is an avenue, and I hope that yourselves as well and other individuals or organizations that represent big companies as well, that the Action PAC doesn't stop here, and again, be revitalized at the next election, but maybe on a quarterly basis, bring us on again. I'm thinking Guam elect me to office in 37th Guam legislature to have my own podcast and talk to the people of Guam of what's going on, invite them to dialogue of what's going on out there. And especially if we're still in a public health emergency and people are still hesitant to visiting offices and have face-to-face conversations with elected leaders, so that we have a podcast and tell them what's happening, have an opportunity for them to interact with us and what is affecting them, and maybe and may not they find public hearings or oversights again uncomfortable with them, but if they need to dialogue with me individually in that regard, so be it. But it's important that we hear what's happening, because even when and this, Phil, in regards to folks who did not qualify for the sleep funding, and you had to lose 50% of your revenue. Well, you had people that lost 15 or 20% of their revenue that did not qualify because they didn't lose 50. But some of them are closed down because 20 or 15 or 20% is devastating for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit that, they hit the ground. It's done. They're done. And they didn't qualify because they didn't have that threshold of 50%. So it's this situation here in regards to thresholds and what you need to meet. It's not a one size fits all situation, and that's why it's important to hear from every business, because there are small, medium, and large businesses, but you have small, very small, and very, very, very small businesses that are out there that's trying to thrive. Yeah.
Right.
So 2 or 3% decline in their revenue could be very, very devastating.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I've heard it with my own conversations with different business owners at various business organizational meetings.
Sure.
So you can count on the Action PAC for being very active from here on out, not just on election year. And that's our commitment to our members and our future members, is that we are going to be that advocate and lobby for those issues, and knock on the door of the senators, sit down with them in the 36th legislature and say, hey, we thank you for the conversations that we had previously, but this is what earned my vote. And we just want to make sure that you're keeping up with your word, not you per se, sir, but everyone, everyone's just representing the island, that the campaign promises are past the polls, not just to bring us to the polls. So we appreciate transparency. Like kids get graded in school. They have their quarter grades, and then their semester grades, and then their final grades. We should be graded the same, quarter, semester, and yearly grade. Absolutely, sure. You are definitely thinking the same way as what we talk about in the board meeting, so you can expect it. I love it. All right, so number 4, sir, we have agree, disagree, or elaborate. Strengthen relations with the U.S. military to focus on improving the safety and security in our region, while also maximizing the economic opportunities afforded to Guam.
Sure. No, I am very supportive of the ongoing military buildup on Guam. I think the addition of Coros Camp Bloss and the other new facilities being built and expanded are tremendous opportunities for our island, and are crucial to help grow and sustain our economy. I do recognize that growth begins with many challenges and puts pressure on different aspects of our island community, but we must, of course, communicate and share our needs and concerns with the military leadership of Guam, and and with the nation's capital, of course. But I believe the local government can be a very positive partner with the U.S. military, and as they work to improve the safety and security of our region. There are tremendous economic opportunities for our people of Guam and the government of Guam as a result of the ongoing military buildup. And it's just funny we have that is my son works in an engineering firm back in California, one of the biggest engineering firm in the U.S., DPR, they're called. And they were out here because they were bidding on a project, a military project. And in the very beginning, a couple of years ago, I said, "Oh, how come your company is not bidding on projects out here?" So, the built up the build up at the time did not meet their threshold, the company's threshold in regards to the amount of work, and so that all changed. They said the company finally said, "Wow, this buildup is even bigger than when they first thought and first heard about." This is because not only after the immediate buildup, this is, but you guys are gonna prosper, because after things are built, it says you're gonna have a lot of jobs, and the jobs are gonna be open to not just military personnel, but a lot of the local people will have jobs. And they said, I hope you guys are ready for this and work collaboratively with the military and what jobs they can be looking at, so the people themselves and the schools can prepare for those jobs that will be had very soon.
Absolutely. I'm in the auxiliary service where we support multiple industries, and I'm heavily involved in one of our partner organizations, which is the Guam
Mm-hmm.
contractors, without being a
Mm-hmm.
contractor, because everyone knows once
Sure.
those trade installments are checked off and signed off,
Mm-hmm.
immediately they're going to need the window washers, they're going to need the copier
Sure.
machines,
Sure.
mop the
Sure.
floor and change light bulbs, and a lot of those jobs will be outsourced to the community.
Sure.
Um, but one thing that you alluded to, that I want to touch on is that just like how we are an advocate for open dialogue and collaboration with the local government, our local lawmakers have to represent the local people as that collaborative dialogue extension
Absolutely.
to the federal government. And I do believe, maybe not in the past, but as we have progressed and as we gotten to be in this local federal marriage of sorts, being a U.S. territory, I believe they started to really learn the culture and understand and respect it. And I think if that is
Mm-hmm.
always highlighted going forward, I don't see any reason why we should not support the economic opportunities, but also the safety and security in the region, because we didn't have a say in it, but we are in a
Sure.
geopolitical
Sure.
location that we need that safety and security, and they,
Sure.
they are there to provide it for us.
Sure, and Phil, the other thing, the military of 2022 and 2023 is not the military of the 1950s, 1960s,
Correct.
70s, 80s, or even 90s. The military has changed. Some say for the better, some say they're more woke now. But I'll leave that to individuals to decide for themselves. But they know they need to be a lot more sensitive and collaborative with local officials and what is happening. And we are the tip of the spear. Regardless of how you look at it, with these hot spot, we are in a hot spot, and being in a hot spot, I like my air conditioner on, and at this point, again, we are who we are. We can't move the location of Guam, so I like the safety net that's being provided for me. Not only the safety net, from the military, but I like the financial security that the U.S. provides for me as well. And imagine this past 2 years, if we didn't have that financial support from Uncle Fed, where would
Yeah,
it be right now?
definitely.
Where would it be right now? Mm-hmm.
Definitely. No, you're
Yep.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Well, you're definitely right on all the areas that you touched on, and we shared as far as the U.S. military and the importance of what they bring to the table, and also how we can maximize the opportunity. So that actually leads us into our final initiative here at the Action Pack. I always call it a coin flip, because candidates will usually need to elaborate, because it's one of those up to interpretation. But where do you
Sure.
stand
Sure.
in regards to the support of a possible part-time legislature?
Oh, and as I answered this last time, and I continuously answer that when I'm ever asked, I said I'm 100% supporter of a part-time legislature. I think it allows more people to run for office, and it sends a message that politics should be about good policy and not about a lifetime holding office or employment. And again, it's I was asked this question this past weekend, one of the media outlets. Is it a calling? What is it? I said it's both a calling and a moral obligation to do as such, and do your thing. get your issues out there, and then and hopefully within your office or people that are around you, that you prepare them as well. And if they want to get to the office, you prepare them, give them the tools and mechanisms, and be the mentor to them to take over the where you left off. So I believe in handoffs, and more than that as well. I believe in part-time legislature. I think if there was a part-time legislature a couple of years ago, I probably would have ran.
Right, and that's exactly what we believe it opens up, is the opportunity for product experts or industry experts from multiple fields, be it business or even medical or military, where they're not able in their current capacity, they're still managing and running their organization or business.
Sure,
so they don't have the
sure,
time to commit to a full-time, but they have the ideas and the
sure,
excitement and energy to play a huge role in the policy making if it was at a part-time. So
sure.
I appreciate your support of that. Looks like you checkmarked all 5 of the list. So if we had a report card, man, you're definitely an A+ candidate, sir. And with that said, I do want to remind our voters, viewers, and members of the Action PAC that we hold this platform and this podcast and our outreach efforts for you. It is so important for you to listen to interviews, these one-on-one interviews with the candidates, hear it for yourself, and then come to your knowledgeable conclusion if what they are, the Guam they are passionate about seeing move forward, aligns with the Guam that you want to live in moving forward, with this concerns of safety, economy, so on and so forth. Watch this interview back, get to know Mr. Jess, and then also watch our other candidates' interviews back, and then come to yours. You have 15, and on the general, you are able, if you want to, let's say you're on the Democratic side, you are able to vote for certain Republican figures, and vice versa if you're on the Republican side. But we just want to empower you. Your voice comes through by way of your vote. So the Action PAC also has a free voting van that we are offering to the community and the business. Gather 10 to 15 of your friends or coworkers, and make it a party, make it a group thing. And the beautiful part is when we remove the responsibility of that drive, also the cost of your gas, it's on us. You are able to have that conversation en route to the polls, possibly a conversation you've never had with some people that you're really close to, see their point of view, and who knows, that actually might open up your eyes or enlighten your voting spirit of who you should vote for, because there's certain things you didn't know about a candidate. That's what these platforms, that's what our avenues are for. And with that said, Mr. Jess, thank you so much for your time and candor. I do want to give you a moment if you want to speak to the viewer and voter directly.
Sure.
For a closing statement.
I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me a few more minutes of that. Okay. Again, we can definitely see the sign, of course, of recovering, but we can't take it for granted. Our local government shut down the economy, and now the local government needs to do more to help businesses stay afloat and to ease the burden of them by reducing taxes, fees, and regulations, and working to promote Guam to our source markets. Now is not the time to celebrate and act as if things are back to normal. We hear a lot of cheerleading from of course, some of the leaders and different elected leaders, but we need to do more than just cheerleading. We need action of local elected government. If elected, I would reduce, of course, our tax burden, eliminate cumbersome fees, and make sure that the government helps local businesses. We need an all hands on deck approach to make sure our recovery doesn't slow, and that local businesses get immediately. Again, you don't have to wait until Jesse Lujan gets elected. You can do that right now. but if not, I'll be there, and hopefully with the people of Guam's vote, I'm number 7 on the Republican side of the ballot. Please give me one of your votes. Thank you very much, and maraming salamat po.
Senator Jesse, we appreciate you, your time and your candor. It's always been a pleasure, and thank you always for answering my invite to have these conversations. Should you move forward into the 37th Guam legislature, please be sure we will continue to have the dialogue and reach out from the business community to our candidates, and we hope to see you there. And with that said, again, Action PAC members, viewers, and voters, I want to thank you for your time and your ear to hear more about what our candidates are here to offer us. This is about you, and this is about Guam moving forward in a better and brighter future. So thank you for your time. This is another episode of the We Want to Know Action PAC Show. My name is Leddy, and I wish you a great day. Adios.
Thank you. Adios.